Oh, the irony. So I've just spent 5 minutes giving you a video to give you my opinion on CrossFit, and I spent 5 minutes talking about the positives of CrossFit, and just as I started to get into the negatives of CrossFit, my camera stopped. So rather than start the whole thing again, this video is going to be all about the negatives, as I see it, of CrossFit, because this is only my opinion, right? I've given you all the positives of CrossFit, the enthusiasm, the emphasis on hard training, the community, the moving through sort of the primal pattern type movements, getting away from being the hamster on the treadmill, all that stuff. So there are some things about CrossFit that I think are absolutely sensational. However, when I see workouts of the day posted, when I see videos, and I don't just mean the shock horror videos associated with CrossFit, because there are always going to be terrible examples of people doing things. But when enough people do something, you're always going to have some people do it well, some people do it terribly, and those people who do something terribly, they're always going to be there, no matter how good the system. So we forget the really bad stuff. Just look at the stuff that's out there. Just look at the workouts of the day. Look at the programming. That's my problem with CrossFit. That's my problem. The programming is ridiculously stupid. Not all of it. I'm sure somebody's going to give me 100 well-constructed workouts. But here is the point. I believe that for most people's general goals for training, for exercise, they should steer clear of machines. Bodyweight stuff is often very good. They should have minimal rest, and a degree of competition is a very useful incentive for getting people to really go for it. Now that sounds like CrossFit. What I don't believe in is piecing together a random assortment of exercises and calling it a workout. It's not. It's a random assortment of exercises. My son, I'm looking outside because my children are playing outside now. My son could put together a CrossFit workout. Run, lift, jump. Sounds great on paper, and that's the problem. Something sounds great on paper, it's not necessarily good for the body. Look, the best example that we can give is this. High rep, complex movements in a fatigued state, typically Olympic lifting. Anybody who tries to do that is a total fucktard. Okay? You're asking for serious injury. I am not going to name any company. It would be wrong of me. And unfair, because maybe they're not educated enough. But if they're not educated enough, then they shouldn't be taking people's money until they become educated. But we have recently, as a business, one of our facilities, picked up a ton of clients from a CrossFit facility. All of these people, they enjoy the training at the CrossFit facility. They're all injured. They're all carrying injuries. Because you can't try and push the limit on everything with people who are not structurally balanced, muscularly balanced, or ready for it. And most people are not ready for it, and they need to be worked up to it. The problem with CrossFit is these workouts of the day, they're not tailored to, well, they're not tailored to anybody. Because you've got the one argument that they're not tailored to the individual, fair enough. But they're not tailored to anybody. To go from running into overhead lifting, we'll go for a sprint and then we'll go straight into overhead lifting, is asking, for like L5, blah, right? It's asking to get injured. The emphasis that CrossFit has on competition over form is wrong. I saw a video on kipping dips. I didn't know kipping dips existed. And they're teaching them how to do kipping dips so they get more reps out. Where do I start? You've been taught how to cheat. Now somebody's going to go, kipping dips, kipping pull-ups. Mitchell doesn't know anything. It's getting you to move more efficiently. No, it's not getting you to move more efficiently. It's putting you in a potentially fragile state. Making somebody move more efficiently on movements they're supposed to do is good. Making you run more efficiently, walk more efficiently, that's good. You make somebody run more efficiently, they can sprint faster, run 100 metres, 200 metres, run long distances faster. Making somebody get 106 keeping pull-ups in a minute, as I saw in a video, is fucking idiotic. Swing up, use leverage, use momentum. You're not working enough muscles and you're just putting your rotator cuff under a tremendous amount of strain. A tremendous amount of strain. The argument for CrossFit type moves is as valid as me basically getting a weight on a bench press that's 30, 40 kilos too heavy for me and bouncing that motherfucker off my chest. Oh, but I got it up. No. Because these movements are not athletic endeavours in and of themselves. And that's the problem with CrossFit. CrossFit has tried to turn these movements into athletic endeavours in and of themselves because you're doing things for reps, for time, in a competitive state. And what happens is that form is going to break down. Form is going to break down and people are going to get injured. And it's wrong. I mean, look, the crazy exercises that people try to come up with for CrossFit, to be creative, and I can understand the urge to be creative. I understand the urge to make things more interesting. Gosh, it makes sense from a mental stimulation, a physical stimulation, and a commercial stimulation perspective. It's great, but they've got to be safe. I mean, you know, these clown movements like the sort of the sit-up where you're going back on a glute ham raise, or a GHD as Americans call it, and they go back and then they throw the ball overhead against the wall, and the massive hyperextension in the lower back. Are you dumb? The trainer's doing that? Are you dumb? It's asking for an injury. Do that with a normal person. It's asking for an injury. Yes, you know, can Rich Froning do these things? Yes, but he's the exception to the rule. So the programming is stupid. The exercise selection is just stupid. And then the other problem that a lot of people have, I don't really care about this, but I've been reminded of it by quoting Rich Froning, who's the poster boy of CrossFit, an amazing CrossFit athlete. He's an amazing CrossFit athlete. He's not an amazing athlete. He's well-rounded. He's a great physical specimen. But he's not anything other than a CrossFit athlete. They try to say, oh, you know, a bit of training, he could be a world-class Olympic lifter. Fuck off. Right? Fuck off. Bit of training, he could be this, he could be that. No, he's not. Clock off, right? Now, what do these guys do, by the way, when these top CrossFit athletes, how do they train? Do they do the workouts of the day? Or do they do specific training? Well, Rich Froning doesn't do workouts of the day, does he? No. They train for the CrossFit Games, and then they do the CrossFit Games type workouts at the CrossFit Games only. That should tell you something. It should tell you something. So that's my problems with CrossFit. I think it's dangerous, the way most people do it. I'm sure there are people who do it well. Those people who do it well, I mean, I know one guy who has a CrossFit box. I won't tell you where, for a way to work it out. And he told me he uses the CrossFit name, CrossFit franchise. And he uses the principles that I have discussed in the first video about the positives of CrossFit. And he doesn't use any of the programming at all. Doesn't use any of the programming. So those are my opinions on CrossFit. I think what we see on the internet, the videos that we see, countless videos, I'm going to get a 185-pound bar and I'm going to walk with it overhead. Oh, you know, anybody with an ounce of training experience and common sense knows that this is not the way to train. No, the classic bodybuilding routine, 3 sets of 10 and this and that, it's not the way to train either, but it's less dangerous by far than what some of these CrossFit clowns are putting in. So, do I hate CrossFit? No, I have a huge amount of respect for a significant part of CrossFit. Do I think that someone could take the CrossFit group training model? It's not unique, by the way, it's circuit training, right? I used to do circuit training in PE 30 years ago. Do I think somebody could take that circuit training model and do it better with much better programming and much better coaching? Sadly, yes I do. But I would rather look at the positives of CrossFit. But if I do publish this video, I'm publishing this video because I've seen a little bit more of CrossFit lately, online. Some of the competitions, some of the prescribed teaching, and it's actually made my hair stand on end. It's so stupid. My advice, lift weights, move your body, cherry pick the best from CrossFit, but there's a lot of things to avoid.